कर दिया.
Recording stop ही रखो.
That is what. ठीक है.
Recording stop.
Yeah. The link was in the other folder of the mail. I was searching that where because mail you gave mail and I had that mail on that day.
Okay.
And I was.
So we can start online. We are already online. Can we start now? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, members. Thank you, friends, and all the members of Borivali Central CP Study Circle. And welcome to the last virtual webinar of the financial year 21-22. And I think last 2 or 3 months, we have reserved this seminar for our esteemed speaker, Aseem Trivedi. So thank you very much, sir. You accepted our invitation and you are there today on the last seminar of our financial year as a convener and as a deputy convener. Myself, convener Nilesh Vasa, and I am having my deputy convener Pradeep Chandwani over here. So before we start this session, I would request Shreyas Trivedi, our committee member, to please start the institute motto.
Yaesha supteshu jagrati Yaesha supteshu jagrati Kamam 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 Pursho nirmimanaha Tadeva shukram Tada Brahma Tadeva mritamuchyate Tasmin lokaha shataha Sarve tadunatyati kaschan Etadvaita
Thank you, Shreyas. Thank you very much. Now I request my deputy convener Pradeep Chandwani to please chair the session and proceed.
Thank you. A very warm welcome to all the members for this 11th meeting for this year of 2022. Today's topic is on professional ethics and the code of conduct. Why this topic would be important in the current scenario is the recent announcement that there is an IIA going to come up. So what is going to distinguish between us and the IIA is going to be this professional ethics and the code of conduct that we follow, how we manage our members, and how professionally different we are in our ethics and in our mechanism from the future IIA students is really going to be the differentiating factor in our view. That is why this topic takes much more importance in today's light. Now, without wasting much time, I would request Shreyas Trivedi to introduce our today's speaker, Aseem Trivedi ji. Over to you, Shreyas.
Yeah. Thank you, Pradeep bhai. Good evening, friends. Welcome, sir. Friends, we have today Aseem Trivedi with us to take us through the topic. Aseem ji is a well-recognized name in the fraternity. He is a fellow member of ICAI, has vast experience and widely recognized in areas of Companies Act, internal audit, auditing and accounting standards, and currently working in training and implementation of IFRS and New Companies Act. He has delivered more than 1,200 seminars on various ICAI platforms, has held many key positions and accolades at various key committees and panels of ICAI. He is specially known for his weekly column, Jama Punji, in a Hindi daily newspaper, Patrika. Has authored many books for the benefits of CA students in the fields of auditing and accounting standards, advanced auditing and professional ethics, company law, and accounting and accounting standards and Ind AS. With this very humble introduction, I would request CA Aseem Trivedi ji to take over the proceedings of the session. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, all of you. respected.
Sir, accept our e-memento from
Yeah.
BCSE. Sir, accept our e-memento. And with a loud round of applause, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Abhay Bhai had called me and he asked to have a seminar on this code of ethics. Unfortunately, what happened today is we have national conference in Indore, and national conference was to be the first technical session was to be chaired by Kamisha Soni, Central Council member. But due to that extended meeting of council, she could not come to Indore. So in morning, I have been received a call that you have to take lecture for 2 hours on code of ethics because she is in her absentia. You have to take. So I had code of ethics full in lunchtime, and now in evening again I am having code of ethics. So the same, but that topic was different. That topic was relating to disciplinary issues under the bank audit. Today we are taking disciplinary cases, recent disciplinary cases, and we will understand the whole concept of code of ethics. Now, the point is, hello.
So
Yes,
you're
sir.
audible, sir.
Yeah, am I audible? Yeah. Now, as far as code of ethics, we'll start the code of ethics. Let me take this opportunity to give my views on what is going on in last 2 days. And in this era of social media, even a standing committee, standing parliamentary committee gives some suggestion. Those suggestions will be aired like that's a new law which came. We have witnessed 3 months back at the time of elections also that small company audit is going out of the hands of the chartered accountants. Nothing is going to be remained with the chartered accountants. And mind it, friends, since I became chartered accountant, I joined chartered accountants in 1994. People were started saying that why you are joining chartered accountancy, nothing much left in chartered accountancy now, but still I have joined. When I became chartered accountant, people were started saying that computerization is there, tally is there, trial balance is tallied now. What else remained for chartered accountant? Auditing tools are also coming. So we don't think chartered accountant will be required much more right now. Then when I started my practice, people started saying you are too late in starting the practice. Now what remained in practice, because scrutinies are now not being done, and less accounting standards and all these things are coming. So standards of auditing and assurance standards were there. So now the practice is quite difficult. So we don't see any growth in this profession now. The profession is now in the international principles. So it will be very difficult for us to cope up with all this. After some time, faceless assessment started. Then people started chanting that no, profession is in danger because now the faceless assessment started. So nothing left for chartered accountant. Again, the thing came, and then bank audits have been shrunk, the bank branches have been shrunk. So many things. So today morning itself, when we were talking about this, a very apt line said by our past president Manoj Fadnisi, that status quo is a myth and there is nothing like status quo. So status quo cannot be maintained always, and in any profession it is not required at all. As far as this IIA is concerned, government is thinking that there is a need of a graduate program which will equip the youngster with all the financial literacy kind of. See, if we think globally, we have no such course like London School of Economics. We have no such institutions which can be there to be treated as a research organization for accounting and a research institute for commerce kind of. So back of the mind, the thing were there, but as the standing committee had taken its shape, and the people who entered into that standing committee might have some views of that there must be an institute, and why this ICAI is enjoying monopoly. No, there is nothing like monopoly. You can't say advocates are enjoying the monopoly. Advocates will do what advocates can do. There is nothing like monopoly. So chartered accountants can do what chartered accountants can do. Anyone else can't do that, because if you think if someone someday will come and say that there will be a law university and law college, it doesn't mean that Bar Council of India will be sidetracked and will be said that no, sir, now you don't require now things. What's going on? Had there been no efforts, can you believe that in the last 35 years, there could have not been any efforts from the IIM side to have a professional like us? Don't you think that our sister concerns ICSI and ICWI has developed their curriculum equivalent to our curriculum? ICAI curriculum, if you just see that curriculum of ICAI cost, they have changed name also. So if you take that curriculum, you will find that what is there in our curriculum and what is not there, you won't find, even you find 3 more things. But sir, the unbeatable model which we are having, where a person will have 3 years skill development program, that skill development program of 3 years of articleship, it cannot be taught by any university. You can have this in writing from my side. So don't get panic. They have came out with something. We are going to represent ourselves before them. It's not a cakewalk to conduct the audit. Who is going to teach them in detail in ASS, IFRSs, standards on auditing, ever-changing GST, ever-changing income tax, ever-changing costing, fundamentals, financial management, share market, capital market? In India, in universities, in even IIMs, we don't have teachers having very good standing, because we are scarcity of the teachers, we are in scarcity of academicians, and these reputed colleges also, I can vouch, they require chartered accountant to teach some of the subjects which are there. So it is not very easy for any one to create an institute which we have created in last 70 years, what we have done. So I don't think there is much more to worry about. Okay, if those people will come, they will become graduate from IIA, and they will be definitely getting some share of market which our chartered accountant is getting in service. As far as auditing is concerned, it will be under the NAFRA. We are also under the NAFRA, and NAFRA cannot discriminate between chartered accountants and those other accountants on the grounds of their skill and competence. So one has to be very much clear about that. This social media chaos has always been created since long. I don't think that there is much to be worried about that, because we all are experienced chartered accountant and we know how a practice can be established by anyone. So let's start with this. Have a confidence in our profession. Solidity of the profession is rightly mentioned by Pradeep Bhai, that we will be distinguished not only because of ethical issues, we will be distinguished from that fraternity because of what skill set we have in our offices, and whatever plethora of services we are giving under one roof with the help of these article assistants. So that is unmatchable, that is unbeatable. Like lawyers, chartered accountants are also different. Now, let's move with this today's topic, code of ethics. And what is code of ethics and what is code of conduct? See, it happens many a times that subject name is changed. We had, when most of us were in CA final, we were having subject under advanced auditing and professional ethics. We had one particular subject, and that subject was code of conduct and professional ethics. We had that topic, and that topic learned by every chartered accountant because it was of 18 to 20 marks and it was mandatorily asked in exam in those days. Today's the ethical weightage has been reduced to 20, 18, 16 marks. But at that time, 20 to 24 marks questions were coming from this particular. So we had that code of conduct and professional ethics. It was very apt name because conduct can be codified. Ethics cannot be codified. But there might be some thinking behind ki naam bada lamba hai. Let us shorten this name. So they have shortened the name as code of ethics. But let me tell you, you cannot codify ethics because ethics are the values which are being inculcated in the person. We cannot codify the ethics. We can codify the conduct. And if we codify the conduct, it will result in ethics. So it is not code of ethics, it is code of conduct, which is going to be resulted into ethics. So that is my submission first. Though in common parlance, we are using code of ethics, but it is not code of ethics. Ethics cannot be codified. Now, what is this code of ethics? It's compilation of all the do's and all the don'ts which are prescribed in Chartered Accountants Act and Chartered Accountants Regulation. So ethics is nothing but compilation of all the do's, compilation of all the don'ts which are prescribed in Chartered Accountants Act and Regulation. So code of ethics by itself, it's not an act, it's just a compilation of all the do's and don'ts which are prescribed in the Chartered Accountants Act. And now, apart from Chartered Accountants Act 1949, we have, as we are the partnering country of IFAC, that is International Federation of Accountants. So IFAC had also issued a code of ethics for professional accountants, which is known as International Code of Ethics, and every partnering country should follow that ethics also. So we have that ethics also. So we have that particular code of ethics, International Code of Ethics also, along with our own code of ethics also. See, there are 3 volumes of code. If we go to code of ethics, if we go to ethical standards board site, we have 3 volumes of code. The first volume is Ethical Standards Board, International Ethical Standard Boards of Accountant Code Adoption, which we had. Then we have volume 2, Chartered Accountants Act and Regulation Do's and Don'ts, which is Do's and Don'ts in Chartered Accountant Regulation Act. And that volume 3 is about the disciplinary cases which are being settled. Now, important is that let's have an overview of this particular code. In the first volume, we have 3 parts, rather 4 parts. The first part is there for complying with the code, fundamental principles, and conceptual framework. It means chartered accountant, whether in practice, or chartered accountant, whether not in practice, both are covered under this particular clause. Complying with code, fundamental principle and conceptual framework for all professional accountants, whether you are in practice, whether you are in service. It's all. Then part 2, it is professional accountant in service. That is section 200 to 299. It is applicable to professional accountant in service. And let me clarify you. First time the code has been so extensively defined for chartered accountant who are in service. So I will request Borivali Circle this time that please do have a particular seminar for chartered accountant who are in service, because usually they don't get the idea about their code, because this code has been extensively defined for them. Gifts, hospitality, and many more provisions have been there for professional accountants in service. So they also need to be educated, because they don't have an idea what kind of a code is applicable over them. Unfortunately, some of them might have not been now the member of the institute, because they just forget to pay the membership fees. So first of all, so you might check that whether the chartered accountants who are in service, they are still member or not, or their name has been stricken off from the member. They are not chartered accountant, but they have been designated as chartered accountant in the company, and they are getting the salary in the name of chartered accountants, and they are qualified as a chartered accountant, but they are not chartered accountant in fact. So I think a particular movement is required to get them reminded that, sir, please become chartered accountant again. And then we have to teach them about this professional accountant in service. Then comes professional accountant in public practice. This is for us also. And then there are 2 different standards which are known as independent standard. Why I am having this smile on my face while saying these standards, you might be thinking that, sir, standards means we have these standards also. It means that why ICA code of conduct is not mandatory but advisory. Who said advisory? Not at all. Code of ethics is mandatory. It is not advisory, Hitesh bhai. You asked one question, but let me tell you, it is always mandatory for me, for you, for everyone. It is mandatory. And India. So the 4th standard is independence for audit and review. Oh. So that code of conduct is for elected and nominated representative. So it's not for us as a member. Elected and nominated representatives are bound by some different kind of rules and regulation. For that has been issued. No problem. Now let's start. We have independent standards under part 4A and part 4B. Why I was having a smile on my face, that despite of standards on auditing, despite of accounting standards, despite of Ind AS, despite of standards on internal audit, despite of ICDS, we have one more set of standards for us, and that is called independent standard. And one independent standard which is known as given under part 4A, it is for independence for audit and review, and part 4B, independence for other assurance engagement, which are known as other than audit and review. So we are not going into that detail, and we are not going into that depth, because our topic is something different, which I am going to take. This is over. of the code of ethics. We have 5 pillars of ethics. Be it is ISBA code of ethics or it is code of ethics of India. We have 5 pillars. That's called integrity. Should not accept an assignment if you are having a belief that these financial statements or these this assignment is not up to mark, and it's not, it can be questioned on the basis of integrity. Suppose one of the private limited company comes to us and asks about to conduct an audit of that particular private company, and if while having a KYC, we found that this particular company is promoted by some fugitive offender or some kind of a person who always there in kind of trap from the government and all that, and they were indulged in some of the malpractices. And if we having doubt about the integrity of a particular client or particular financial statement, we should refuse to accept the appointment. That's the first thing which is given as integrity. Then there is something called objectivity, and it is requires that we should be independent of any interest, be it is interest, direct interest, or it is indirect interest. Whatever the amount of interest is there doesn't make any sense. Even if we have 1% interest, we should not accept the appointment because interest kills the independence. So we must be independent always in doing our services. Then they are saying that we must be having professional competence and due care. So whenever the auditor is there, he cannot say, he cannot escape, he cannot shake his shoulders after the after any of the mishappenings. Like if someone says that this in this company there's no impairment loss provision has been there, or in this company no provision for leave encashment is there, a chartered accountant cannot say that I was not aware that accounting standard 15 is applicable to this because of the number of employees increased up to 50. I couldn't recognize that accounting standard 15 is there. So I'm sorry, it will not happen again. That cannot be an excuse, because everyone has to be acquainted with all the technical standards all the time, and no one can give excuse that I was not aware about this particular law or this particular thing. Then confidentiality, we all know that we must be confidential always in our all endeavors. There is no point. Professional behavior, this is something very interesting. Professional behavior is that if somebody comes to us on the last date of filing of the return and he asks us to prepare his financial statement, get them tax audited and get them uploaded, we should have a courage to refuse, because this is not done. Because you are coming at the last day and you are asking me to sign your financial statement and upload your tax audit report and upload your returns, and on the last day. In this hassle, we cannot perform the quality, so we cannot. Then he comes and says, sir, I'm ready to pay you double fees or a triple fees or an offer which we cannot resist, and we accept it. That is not called as a professional behavior. So professional behavior means that we are not going to compromise with our quality standards in any circumstances. That is called professional behavior. So we have integrity, we have objectivity, we have professional competence and due care, we have confidentiality, we have professional behavior. These 5 pillars are there. And the whole code of ethics, be it is international code of ethics or it is code of ethics of India, both are based on all these. If you go to any clause, any of the clause of the code of ethics, you will find either of any one of them be present over there as a foundation of that particular clause of that particular misconduct. Integrity, I have described. Objectivity, I have described. Confidentiality, I have described. Professional behavior, I have described. Why we are sometimes involved in misconduct. I have, in last 15 years, I am working with Ethical Standard Board. In various committees, I am working in Ethical Standard Board. When first time we have adopted this particular IFAC code, at that time I was there. In that particular 2009 Code of Ethics edition, I was team member. In this particular 19 Code of Ethics, I was also a team member. Whenever we work on ethics, whenever we have studied all over world's ethics, and we found that there are only the pivot of our misconduct is here. It all rotates around need versus greed. Either I will commit a misconduct out of greed, or I will commit a misconduct because of my casual approach, or I will have misconduct because of my irrational thinking. So there are three things. Either it was not needed and I have done it, or it was require more sincerity towards my professional assignment, which I did not keep, or at times where I could have rational decisions, I just became irrational. Only these three grounds are there on which any of the misconduct can be evaluated. Let's have some cases where we can have idea about this need versus greed. I'm starting with Madhya Pradesh, sitting in Madhya Pradesh. I'm starting with Bhopal. In Bhopal, 2016, a practicing chartered accountant has been appointed as state coordinator for a state government industrial policy. He had been appointed as a coordinator for state government industrial policy, which is being implemented, and he entered into an MOU with SEDMEP. SEDMEP is one of the scheme of the government. So when he became an MOU with director SEDMEP, what government is always working in its own style. They will say, we need a firm. We need a firm to whom we will give this particular, we will give you kind of, will make you coordinate. So we need a firm, proprietorship firm, who will be, which will be exclusively become the coordinator for state government policy. This chartered accountant was of opinion that this particular post of coordinator should not go to anyone else, because it's all Madhya Pradesh where the SEDMEP program is going to be conducted, and a crores of rupees budget is there, which is being coming, which is going to come to this particular project. So he entered himself in MOU with the director SEDMEP. He opened a firm with a name Rajya Samanvayak SEDMEP. Proprietor, he himself. Now see what he did is, he himself was running a proprietorship concern, and that's a chartered accountant firm. Besides having chartered accountant firm, he opened another proprietorship firm and titled as Rajya Samanvayak SEDMEP. He opened a bank account of Rajya Samanvayak SEDMEP. He gave services to SEDMEP. He receives the payment, but the other person who was also behind this particular project, and who was also other firms who were also in competition with that firm, somehow they filed an FIR against him and said that this chartered accountant has done some malified and misappropriation of money and forging is there. The FIR was found baseless, but meanwhile, when the FIR was there, this particular case has been sent to ICA. And then later on, this chartered accountant had filed explanation to ICI that there is nothing in this case because the FIR has been dismissed and clean sheet had been given by court. So there is nothing to be done. So kindly dismiss the case. But the case was before the disciplinary committee. Disciplinary committee was having an eye on this particular case, and they just came out that how a chartered accountant can open a second firm, and that to a firm which is not doing any nothing to do with the profession of chartered accountants. So being a chartered accountant firm, you open one more chartered accountant firm, you got the whole budget transferred into your firm, and then you have started distributing that particular fund and getting the services which are not there as per the domain of chartered accountants. You were providing some services which were, there is nothing like anything to be included in that particular firm to be treated as a chartered accountant firm. So he had been found guilty of misconduct for opening a second firm. Now tell me, was this the last assignment you were receiving in your life? Or was it the last opportunity you are having in your life? Sometimes it happens that some opportunity comes to us and we found that, yeah, this opportunity is not going to be materialized because of some technical glitches. So let it go. Don't do anything out of greed to grab that opportunity. Don't do that. That have some irrational decision of opening a firm, irrational decision of opening a firm in a separate name, getting the whole budget into this and then giving work to someone else, and that all, which was not at all required. So that particular fellow found guilty of professional misconduct. So this is one of the case of the misconduct. Another case which was there in Baddi Solar, Himachal Pradesh in 2014. Respondent received the appointment as tax auditor of a firm. He posted a letter of communication on 20th September 2013. Please mind the dates. 20th September 2013. Most probably 30th September might be the last date of filing the return. So respondent received an appointment as a tax auditor in a firm, and he posted a letter of communication on 20th September 2013. Letter received to the predecessor auditor on 23rd September 2013. Subsequently, it is noted that the audit report had been issued with the date of 19th September. Board of Directors, Board of Discipline found it guilty of PMC under the professional misconduct under clause 8 of part 1st of the first schedule. Now, let me introduce the amendment here also. In common parlance, we use a word NOC. And mark my words, no NOC is required. There is no word used in clause number 8 of part 1st of the first. This NOC word is not being used anywhere. We have developed this word because we think there is NOC. It's not NOC. Clause number 8 of the part 1st of the first schedule clearly mentioned that a chartered accountant in practice shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he accepts the appointment as an auditor without first communicating with him in writing. Without first communicating with him in writing. That whether he has any professional or other reason for me not to accept the assignment. Where is NOC? No NOC. I have to write a letter that, dear sir, I have been appointed as tax auditor in this particular firm. Previous year, the tax audit has been conducted by you. Do you have any professional or other reason for me not to accept the appointment? Kindly let me know within 3 days. And if you do not reply, I will presume that you have no objection on the same. That's it. Am I getting any approval from him? No. If he has any professional or other reason for me not to accept the assignment, let me know. The response came to us. Don't accept the appointment. I said, why I should not accept the appointment? Sir, my undisputed audit fees has not been paid. Fine. If your undisputed audit fees has not been paid, agreed. I am not going to accept this audit. Yes, we should not accept the audit unless and until undisputed fees of the predecessor has not been paid. Fine. We wrote a letter to predecessor. Same letter wrote to the predecessor. Predecessor replied, sir, please do not accept this appointment because my removal is not appropriate. Under Companies Act, the removal is very difficult. Under section 140, subsection 1 and 140, subsection 4, if you look at the provisions, it's very stringent provision to remove an auditor. Before expiry of term, if you want to remove an auditor, you need to get a special resolution passed, and that too after getting the approval from the central government under ADT 2. So filing of ADT 2, then getting the central government's approval, and then removing the auditor is the case. How an auditor can be removed in a company? And if you go that, I am just retiring because of my tenure is over, it's okay. If your tenure of 5 years and 5 years block is completed and then you have a cooling period of 5 years, there's no point. But suppose an auditor is required to be removed, that firm has served 5 years to that particular company, but that company don't want to get him again as an auditor for next 5 years block. Though there is no requirement of cooling period, but we want to remove the auditor in this particular annual general meeting. Oh, a long drawn process is there. We need to have a special notice from shareholders that we want to remove this auditor. We have to send copy to the auditor that this love letter came from the shareholder that you are going to be removed. Then that auditor will give his representation to the board that kindly circulated to the shareholders so that they can make up their mind whether I am required in this company or not required in this company. And then all the things has to be followed. That whole procedure has to be followed. And again, the special resolution has to be passed at the general meeting and auditor can be removed there. That is there. Now, if someone says that my appointment is not appropriate, so let us first understand that before accepting appointment in a company, we should be very careful unless and until a resolution of shareholders meeting, minute books of shareholders meeting have not been gone through, MCS site, if we have not checked, we cannot accept the appointment in the private limited company. So, baat nikli thi to wo ho gayi. Let's get again to the point. NOC is not required. We have to communicate to the predecessors who has to have these kind of matter which can pop up in between that don't accept the appointment. A third very strange thing. Sir, kindly don't accept the appointment. Why? I was giving a qualified opinion to this fellow. This fellow said there are thousands of chartered accountants in Mumbai. Anyone can sign. You don't sign. I'm going. Sir, he came to you. I resigned only because his balance sheet was not okay and I was about to give a qualified opinion and there is a disagreement between me and him and I have resigned. So you don't accept the appointment because I have resigned because of qualification which I was giving. Now, sir, there is a choice to be. I have an option. I can accept the appointment because it will be my professional judgment whether I should qualify the report, whether I should not qualify the report. That would be my own decision. In that case, I can accept the audit. Now the amendment key. That before amendment, let me tell you, before amendment, this so-called NOC, either it has to be delivered by hand delivery, or it has to be through registered acknowledgement post. In COVID-19, thanks to COVID-19, in this COVID-19, when there is no communication was there, neither we could communicate to the predecessor through registered post because postal services held up, and we could not, even we were not able to deliver the oxygen cylinder who was going to deliver that particular letter to the other officer. It's not possible. So in that case, council had came out with a long pending decision, and that pending decision, which was boiling in the mind of council, but it was the appropriate time when they came up with that particular decision, and they said that this letter of communication can be there through email to that predecessor on his last registered email address. On his last registered email address with ICA, you post a mail and wait, let him respond. If he did not respond to the mail that he had received the mail, it means he did not get the mail. Let's have an acknowledgement receipt that he had received the message. Now, this is again controversial point. I have mailed him, and in mobile, he saw the subject of the mail, that communication regarding our appointment. He did not open the mail. Then what? Is it duty of a chartered accountant to open the mail which is sent by the successor? There's no such rule. So this is controversial point, but let's have a common parlance. Yes, I have received the mail. I received the mail. I opened the mail. I replied, yes, I have received the mail. Thank you. I will let you know. Now let you know within how many days? 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. That is the let me know. Okay. So this is another mode of communication which is open for us. And now a very interesting thing comes, that if this mail, we are getting this through mail, and if he did not respond within 3, 4, 5 days, what to do? Wait for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. If he did not respond to that mail, you are through. Up audit kar sakte. There's no point in that. Now, one more thing. In case of government audits, in case of bank audits, where there is deadline that we have to accept the appointment within 2, 3, 4 days. So within 2, 3, 4 days, we have this particular time limit. How can we respond within 2, 3 days when this particular person is not giving us response? He will himself is taking 2, 3 days, and within these 2, 3 days, I need to give you acceptance. So Institute came out with one more welcome provision, and that is that in case of government audit, in case of bank audit, in case of auditor who is appointed by some authorities, and the acceptance is required to be given immediately or within 2, 3, 4 days, and in between the predecessor's approval is not there, so you can give conditional acceptance. So your acceptance audit engagement letter will describe a paragraph that we are having this particular we are giving you acceptance over this particular assignment conditionally, subject to any objection which we will be receiving from the predecessor. And if that objection is of undisputed audit fees, which we have checked, we don't find any undisputed audit fees with, or if we find there is some objection from the predecessor, which is really required to be entertained, in that case, we could decline this assignment afterwards. But at this time, we are accepting the assignment. So these are the recent amendments which have came out relating to communicating to the predecessor. Now, let's go to Gurgaon. What happened in this? It's clearly, we can witness here, that audit report had been signed on 19th, while the communication has been sent on 20th, and the response had been received on 23rd. So you have completed your audit, and before signing your audit, after signing your audit report, you have signed the so-called NOC and sent it to the predecessor, which is not in terms of Chartered Accountants Act 1949. All parts of the country, we are performing equally, be it is Bhopal, be it is Himachal Pradesh, be it is Gurgaon. Our conduct, our greed, our casual approach, our greed, our irrational decisions are always there. Look, 2016. One fine day, a proposal for appointment to become company auditor of a company received to a chartered accountant firm. Company explained to the auditor that predecessor auditor has expressed his inability to conduct the audit. Company assured incoming auditor that they will collect no objection certificate from the company and will do all the formalities. Later on, before signing the audit report, it was discovered by the incoming auditor that no formalities have been completed by the client. Suddenly he resigned. When he resigned, that particular company complained to ICI that this fellow appointed by us, and he resigned on by saying that my appointment was not there. How is it possible? Then ICI asked the predecessor, that particular resigning auditor, before accepting the appointment, did you communicate to the predecessor? If you could have communicated to the predecessor, this could have not been happened. And second thing, have you checked that your appointment was valid by witnessing by verifying the minute books, by verifying the board of directors resolution, by verifying the Ministry of Corporate Affairs site? And if you have not done that, you are also guilty under clause 9 of the part 1st of the first schedule, which clearly mentioned that a chartered accountant in practice shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he accepts the position as an auditor in a company without first ascertaining that the provisions of section 139, 140, 141 have been complied with. So this is another case we can say this is called misconduct. New Delhi. Very interesting. A tender which has been issued. Let me talk about the tender policies. In 2006, before 2006, we were having tendering that you can respond to tenders which is not only related to chartered accountant services. After that, ICI felt that due to tendering process, chartered accountants are having cutthroat competition, and they are filling the rates, they're quoting the rates which is not up to the professional dignity. So in 2006, chartered accountant ICI has banned that no chartered accountant should respond to any tender. In 2009, again, tender had been introduced, and this 2016 tender related to tender, some more guidelines have been issued. So what guidelines we are having right now about the tender is that all of us can fill the tender
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anonymous attendants are giving me very good suggestions. I am describing the clauses and they are giving me clauses and oh, that's great. Now, important is in New Delhi, a tender has been filled by a firm. So what is the tendering guideline? Tendering guideline is very clear that we can file tenders if they are relating to our own domain, which cannot be done by anyone else. Like if the tender is for statutory auditor in India, chartered accountants are having that so-called monopoly, which has been published by various English newspapers. These English newspapers, because they are in English, doesn't make a sense that they are giving a sensible news, as because they are publishing it is in English, not publishing in Marathi or Hindi, because they are English newspapers. So those English newspapers made a headline: monopoly of chartered accountants. We don't have monopoly, we have statutory power. If you say there is monopoly of doctors, if you say there is monopoly of lawyers, so yes, we have monopoly. Otherwise, sir, your knowledge is lacking. Our Marathi newspaper never says like monopoly. Pura tapas karke likhte. So important is that tendering process is there. That tendering process which is there is, if a particular entity requires a chartered accountant for statutory audit, they can issue a tender. But in that tender, they have to give the minimum audit fees. They have to give minimum audit fees. And in that minimum audit fees, we can fill the tender. All of us can fill the tender. If it is of a domain, which domain that is chartered accountants work, and in that domain, minimum audit fees, if it is there, we can very well fill the tender. But if the tender relating to our domain, which does not have minimum audit fees, we cannot fill that tender. Why this minimum audit fees has been prescribed? This is the culprit due to which this minimum fees has been there. This case has been decided in 2018, but this case was pending since long, 2014-15. One day, authority from New Delhi approached to ICI and lodged a complaint that, sir, one of your chartered accountants is interrupting the bidding process. ICI Director Discipline came into action. Why a chartered accountant is interrupted a bidding process? What happens? Bole, sir, we have issued a tender for some work. What he did is, he quoted ₹1 for that assignment. Our whole bidding process, and nobody else bid because of this ₹1. So we just cancelled the tender. That okay, there's no point. Sometimes it happens. Again, we came out with a tender. And this fellow now quoted 1 paisa instead of ₹1 to disrupt the bidding process. ICAI was furious. What's going on? You are signing a financial statement for rupee 1, and then the person came out again with the tender, and now you're quoting you're quoting paisa 1. What's going on? A process has been initiated against that particular firm, and that particular respondent came out, and that respondent gave a very funny argument that we have quoted such lower fees because we need to have exposure of such audit at any cost to raise our skill set. Ah, great. You want to raise your skill set. For raising your skill set, you are quoting your profession to 1 paisa. The partners has been made guilty of other misconduct under clause number 2 of part 4 of the first schedule, that they have been guilty of professional misconduct, and this particular thing, which is you have unfair means you have used to procure a particular case or assignment. So now the point is that can we fill tender? Yes, we can fill tender if that particular tender is for our domain. Second thing, we can fill the tender if minimum fees has been quoted. Now, if the tender is for internal audit, if the tender is for management consultancy, if that particular tender is not for a particular assignment, which is our domain, it can be done by anyone else, then Institute of Chartered Accountants set us free to fill that tender, whether there is any minimum fees quoted therein or not quoted there. So this is another case of code of ethics which was there in New Delhi. Now we are at just a minute. Kolkata. A famous film star, Imran Hashmi, received a demand notice of 1.44 crore relating to various assessment years, as the predecessor is not taking proper care of audit and returns. Predecessor did not had proper care of audit and returns. So his client Imran Hashmi received the demand notice of 1.44 crores. New auditor took charge without communicating in writing. Though he tried to establish communication in informal way many times, but the complainant did not give response to the predecessor, as he was so careless, and client has every right to select his auditor. Board of Discipline said, sir, that though the intention was not to poach the client himself came to you, but communication procedure has to be followed. You need to follow the communication procedure. So even if the things are there, the misconduct is misconduct. Though this particular fellow did not receive a hardship, he had received a warning and reprimand, and then but a disciplinary action is a disciplinary action, even if it is reprimanding, it's a disciplinary action has been taken against the particular person. So mind it very carefully that even if the predecessor is wrong, even if the predecessor is careless, even if the predecessor did not perform his duty in accordance with due diligence, still our need to communicate with the predecessor is there. We have to. Another case is from Nagpur. The accounts of complainant were maintained and audited by chartered accountant. Even after the full payment of the fees, chartered accountant refused to complete the work and to file the income tax return. The respondent firm was in possession of all the original accounts and refused to hand over the same. Further, on seeking for the payment against the work done for the interior of the new office of the firm, the complainant was abused and threatened. The password of the income tax account was also changed by him without the knowledge of the complainant. The respondent refused to accept the payment made by check. Oh God, it's a personal fight which became professional. It means, if you read that third paragraph of the slide, you came to know what exactly had happened. The respondent firm was in possession of all the original accounts and refused to hand over the same. Further, on seeking for the payment against the work done for the interior of the new office of the firm, the complainant was abused and threatened. It means the client had performed work at your office and you had some disagreement with him. You did not pay his fees. And you said that you have done this work. Now I'm not going to pay you anything. And mind it, there is the income tax return मेरे पास है ना बेटा, मैं वो भी तुझे फाइल नहीं कर दूंगा, टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट से भी पेनल्टी लगेगी और ऊपर से पासवर्ड भी चेंज कर दिया मैंने, अब देख ले तेरे को क्या करना है. It means the fight, which was a personal fight, now became the professional fight, and making something personal as a professional is not a good conduct. It's a misconduct. It's an other misconduct which is bringing disrepute to the profession. So this particular thing is the example of other misconduct. So mind it very carefully that we have section 22 of the Chartered Accountants Act 1949, which talks about the chartered accountant, if found guilty of professional or other misconduct, institute will take a disciplinary action. Now, what constitute other misconduct? It means any misconduct which is other than professional misconduct. See, what other misconduct which may come across? If a chartered accountant failed to clear the dues of the credit card, even after having help of credit and all, he was failed to pay the credit card and his account had been made NPA by the bank, and then bank have complained to ICI that this chartered accountant had taken loan and not paying it. Mind it very carefully. Your act is bringing disrepute to the profession, and as it is bringing disrepute to the profession, institute can take action against it. Somewhere I found in this era also, I found a news that chartered accountant was found guilty because he was involved in one of the fights, road fights, because there were this particular film which is making ripples in the country, Kashmir Files. So in that cinema hall, some clashes have been taken up and chartered accountant fought very badly and he injured 2-3 persons. News came up. If this news cutting goes to the ICI, then definitely it is bringing disrepute to the profession. Who else is, who was responsible for that and why this particular clash had happened? That is another thing, but an action can be taken because 24/7 we are chartered accountant. Till our last professional breath, we are chartered accountants. So other misconduct, we are within the scope of institute itself. There is a News 18. Sometimes we are at News 18 also. As per sting operation carried out by News India 18 channel, published and aired on 17th November 2016, It had been observed that a chartered accountant had been shown as talking about conversion of black money and advising use of Jan Dhan Yojana to make the black to white. Accountant and Jan Dhan accounts and gold to convert old high denomination currency notes on commission basis. The manner in which the conversation had taken place, it was clear that the respondent was advising the person about various illegal means to convert the black money into white. And if something appears on News 18, how it can be not taken into cognizance by ICI. And you all know that they had directed disciplinary power to initiate any inquiry against member either at its on or on complaint made by someone. So in this case, this particular initiative taken by ICI, that fellow held under professional misconduct, other misconduct, not professional misconduct. This is called other misconduct, that you are giving illegal advices to the clients. And why not a money laundering case had been initiated against him by the enforcement directorate might be there in there. Now, in 2019, where a chartered accountant was involved in creating false document showing gifts of various amounts of money by various person in the name of person and his wife. Happens. Sometimes it happens that client comes to us and asks us that, sir, I want capital. We say, how can we create your capital? You could have become a CC early so that your regular income could create a good amount of capital. No, sir. Now I want to create. Client is client. He comes. 3-4 days, one of my colleague was laughing quite loudly, and I asked him, what happened? Why you are laughing so loudly? He said, यार अभी एक client है, उसके बच्चे का शादी हुआ है. So शादी हुआ है और he called me and said, thank you, sir, you came to our marriage. Now do one thing, create an HUF file of my son. So I was asking him, let him have an issue so that I can have an HUF. How can I have an HUF with 5? So client is client. He can come out with any demand that create an HUF, as my son is also got married now. Create an HUF file. Like creating an HUF is a ritual which has to be performed after marriage. So now this fellow came to a chartered accountant and asked to create a capital. I have recently married. These are the gifts. These are the amounts. So chartered accountant might give him advice that you have 2,000 people in your reception, and each person gave you 1,000 rupees averagely. So 2,000 multiplied by 1,000. This is the gift which we can say that it is collected in cash itself. So we have deposited the same into the bank account. Your wife could have also received the money, and they did all. And income tax department objected on the same, and they cracked the deal. And then we all know that if income tax officer rudely says to assessee that I'm going to issue a notice to you, just tell me the name of the person who suggested this. That client clearly mentions the name of the chartered accountant. That particular assessing officer wrote to ICI that your chartered accountants are giving such kind of dubious advices to client, and they are promoting the this kind of illegal activities, and action has been taken against that particular fellow. So again, what I said at the time of this lecture, starting of this lecture, that in this case again we can apply, was it need or was it greed? Second, what is it casual approach or is it a sincere approach? And was this decision of having all these gifts and all was a rational decision or it was an irrational decision? And you can again find that on those three grounds, we can make it again that yes, that's a misconduct. Come back to Bhopal again. Chartered accountant have prepared two balance sheets of the company, one for submitting to bank and another for submitting to income tax department. Both the sets submitting to, to the bank and another for submitting to income tax. Both the sets of accounts had been audited and signed by him as a statutory auditor of the company. Moreover, he had submitted forged and fabricated documents with an intention to avail the enhanced credit facility from the bank. वो कहते हैं ना, invention is mother of, necessity is mother of invention. Caro 2020 came out with a clause under the inventory that whether the documents filed by the company to the bank regarding their stock statement, debtor statement and all, are they matching with the books of accounts? In Caro 2020, we have one clause just because of all these irregularities which are done by our so-called reputed practitioners. You are signing two balance sheets, two sets of accounts and all that. Aaj ki tarikh mein, when the digitization is there, if you are doing such kind of malpractices, it will be said that you are out of your mind, because you are signing on same date two balance sheets having two different figures, giving opinion. Sometimes it might happen that one report is qualified and another report is unqualified. So this is grossly negligent at the part of member, and something which is grossly negligent at the part of member, it would be treated as misconduct under clause number 7. Why? Let me ask you again question. Why you did that? Out of greed, out of casual approach, out of irrational thinking, you committed this mistake. Kya hota? Let me talk about the philosophy, that mentality. क्या होगा जब भी ऐसा क्लाइंट आएगा ना, आपका इनर कॉन्शियस एक बार आपको वार्न करेगा, क्या जरूरत है यार ये करने की, why should we go for this? Two balance sheets, signing two balance sheets, is it not risky? If at that moment you think rationally, why I am doing this? I should not do this. So the other voice comes to us and said, तू नहीं करेगा तो पड़ोसी करेगा. Means हमें फीस नहीं मिलेगी, इसका दुख हमको थोड़ा है, पर इसी काम की फीस दूसरे फेलो मेंबर को मिल जाएगी, वो इससे बड़ा दुख है. हाँ, 10, 12, 15, 20 हजार अपने को नहीं मिलेंगे ना, नो प्रॉब्लम, लेकिन क्या हम साइन नहीं करेंगे तो क्या दूसरा भी नहीं करेगा? ऐसा तो है नहीं. मैंने तो देखा है, मेरा पड़ोसी चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट तो बिल्कुल बैठा हुआ है, वो तो इस क्लाइंट को ले ही लेगा, और मैं तो 20,000 लेने वाला था, वो 40,000 लेगा. So why I should make him on 40,000? Let me have misconduct here. Now, if this kind of mentality is there, how can we say ourselves as a professional? One fine day when I was taking seminar in Chennai, the same question asked by one of my professional colleague at Chennai that, sir, you are saying that you should refuse this particular work. If I refuse it, someone else will get it. So if he is doing that, why don't I should? I said, this assignment might be of, say, 50,000. Leave it. You are buying mental peace in rupees 50,000. You are buying your glory. You are buying your goodwill. There are certain intangible buyings by leaving such kind of clients. Otherwise, if you sign it, you will get 50,000 rupees. That 50,000 rupees received to you along with something which will be clicking in mind again and again and again and again, that how many of such balance sheets I have signed. That compilation is going to disturb you whenever you are enjoying any professional moment where you have been honored by someone on stage, or you have been honored by someone like, sir, you are great. And when somebody says, sir, you are great, you are so sincere, you are so dedicated professional, you are so, then that particular bug will behind the mind will institute, these people don't know what I have done. So those 50,000 is very disturbing, sir. If you can listen to your mind, if you can listen to your soul, you should not do this kind of work for just 15,000 bucks. Just leave those 15,000 bucks and purchase peace. That is my sincere advice to everyone. If somebody says something, it may sound sometimes that I'm talking about like Babas and sons. This is generally happens, but sir, this is not done. We have put our all effort. And just a minute, this is one of the work which we have done. We are not doing all this firm also. I don't know which firm is this, but this firm also has not done only this. Thousands of good assignments had been performed by this firm, made a very good professional standing in Bhopal. And certainly one day, the glory had been snatched by this particular incidents. So those 50,000, if bigger than your name, if those 50,000s are bigger than your goodwill, if those 50,000s are bigger than your glory, if those 50,000s are bigger than your mental peace, then kindly accept it. Otherwise, just this is called ethics. Nobody can preach ethics. Conduct. We are codifying the conduct. And we have received one good suggestion that Bhopal person who had accepted who had prepared a proprietorship firm, why he did not accepted the assignment and having a firm in his wife's proprietorship and can get all these things. My dear friend, if you do that, that will also be a mistake. See, greed is there, professionalism is there, necessity is there, need is there, rational is there, irrational is there, everything is there. वो बोलते हैं ना कि we become what? Depends on our choices. So if you choose loopholes, if you choose flaws, if you choose some shortcuts, then the repercussion will be like that. So kindly refrain to have this. Now let's come to South India, Tuticorin. Our chart, we are very particular in doing misconducts. Kashmir to Kanyakumari, India एक A chartered accountant issued 97 projection statement for certain individual without verifying the basic document, and on the basis of which bank had extended the loan amount. Afterward, the bank revealed that the person for whom the respondent had issued the financial statement did not have any business or source for repayment of the loan. Company is not in existence. And you have given projected statement for that. Even the basic statement is not correct. How you are projecting? Chartered accountant did not take two pains even to move out of his office, or he did not had a KYC to establish whether there is any entity like this is there or not on your side. And this not only happened in Trivedi, this happened in Mumbai also. I'm taking one more case of Mumbai. No, that is a Chennai case. Just a minute. One case I'm missing here. It is from Mumbai. Hope kahin piche nikal gaya ho. Let me explain that. Notice came to 84-year chartered accountant of Mumbai that you are signing audit report of a listed company from last 8 years. And on investigation, it had been found that there is no registered office of that particular listed company at a place where this has been there, and it is nothing but then a shell company. Means it is nothing but a company which had been, sorry, not shell company, dormant, and you are signing the balance sheet. It was subsidiary of kind something. Now, when this complaint went to institute, and institute sent a notice to member, the member plea was, I am 84 years old. I have no age right now to face any disciplinary proceeding. So I am not able, I'm not coming for any disciplinary defending. Decide whatever you want to do. In this age of 84, if you want to snatch my certificate of practice, do it. If you want to penalize me through penalty, do it. I'm not going to come to you in this age of this. I'm explaining that whatever is done by me, but I have been misguided by my article clerk, who happened to be my article clerk, but now they are CFO of this particular company of which I have signed. Now, important is, when we are in this age of 84, we have not retired from the profession. And in this age where we need to have a good respect from people, and we enjoyed our life, we enjoyed the profession like anything. And at the end, if such our profession ends like this, it is not done. And those two chartered accountant fellow against whom the inquiry has been made, what was their thought process? Are they thinking that our boss, who is of 84 years of age, if he signs anything which is not true and fair, if he signs on our belief, our trust, and if something happens, तो ये chartered accountant का क्या बिगड़ने वाला है? ये तो वैसे 84 years के हो. If this kind of thinking is there, I must say those persons are not required in this profession itself, because this is not done. You can't take anyone's trust in such a manner that he, on your trust, is signing the financial statement, and one fine day he is receiving this. So I request all my seniors to the profession, kindly do not sign any financial statement unless and until you are not party to that particular, unless and until you are not conducted audit of that particular thing, because in this age, why we should have this kind of assignments, because anyone, and mind it, whatever balance sheet will come to you for sign might have some problems, otherwise they might have not come to you. Those financial statements are not for you. Those financial statements came to you only because you are ready to sign whatever comes to you. So it is request to all members that see what Pradeep Janwanji said, that what distinct a person in society is his ethics. If you are ethical, definitely you have a long lasting period of your career. And if we not, sometime it happens that success might come to you, but you cannot enjoy that success forever. If you are ethical, definitely that success is not only of your hard work, but it is for your sacrifices also, what we have done during the whole life. There are endless cases I can discuss on code, and new code of ethics is also coming. No clear provision is also coming. Disclosure of fees is coming, but as and when they will come, I'm going to discuss those with you. Right now, this is from my side. If anyone has any query, we can go with that, I think.
Pradeepa, you are on mute.
If any members have any questions, they can post in the Q&A box, and whatever questions are related to today's topic shall be taken over.
Yeah.
Sir, we have some questions, but I think you've read all of them already. But those I think are more of related to elections and not related to current day's topic.
These are by no problem.
Yeah. Since there are no questions, I think I will proceed with today's lecture. Well, thank you, members, for a patient hearing to our current speaker, Aseem Trivedi ji. I think the best to take out is from his speech would be to have a peaceful sleep in the night by not taking up assignments which are not worth taking them, and they are not worth our sleep. That is the best takeaway which I think I personally have taken from listening to him. With this, I would request Bijal Doshi to give a formal vote of thanks, and post that I need to make one announcement. So Bijal, once you're through with your vote of thanks, you can hand over.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for giving me opportunity to present vote of thanks to today's speaker. You all will agree with me that in such a short span of time, Aseem Trivedi presented an exhaustive presentation for the members with reference to latest cases of ICI under disciplinary matter. He shared his over the years of experience for benefit of all the members, which will help members in practice to follow the professional ethics in their day-to-day practice and to avoid any disciplinary action in future. Speaker took us through a detailed code of conduct, which runs from section 100 to section 999, and 5 pillars of ethics, which many of us were not aware of in detail or may not be able to implement practically till date. It was simple to understand with the help of practical cases of various cities in the country over last few years in such a concise manner. On behalf of BCSC, I request you all to join the hands to present the vote of thanks to today's speaker. I'll hand over to Pradeep for further proceeding. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bijal ma'am. This announcement is in relation to the seminar, the physical seminar, what we are going to have tomorrow. Tomorrow, the seminar is divided strictly into 2 parts. One is where you will have the feel of a study group, where we will be discussing issues under the various Income Tax Act in parts of groups where we will have leaders. So that will start at about 9:15. So in case if anyone is interested to be a part of that, is required to register on the link which is already provided to them. And for other members, the seminar where the speaker will share his views on the topics will start at about 10 a.m. So members are requested to report accordingly. Thank you very much. And please do attend to tomorrow's seminar. And thank you, Aseem Trivedi ji, once again for sharing your views. We sure that once we are back to post-COVID times, we will welcome you again to Mumbai to share your views.
Thank you,
On a
sir.
physical
Anytime.
note, sir. On a
Anytime.
physical note. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
With this, we end today's session. Thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.